ahead of what very well could be Vitality's final game. Again, a lot of pressure. Despite that, you still see optimism in the face of the coaching staff, and hopefully for the players on stage. I'm looking now. Hard to tell at this distance if there is optimism. But either way, a lot of pressure. SK on the opposite side. Look, there's excitement. There are potential accolades. First place on the line today. But a much different set of stakes for their opponents.
Yeah, SK Gaming going to see if they can try and take that #1 spot here. They've had a fantastic split. I mean, this would just be a wonderful way to round it out. But for Vitality, you are desperately hoping that they are not going to have the best of days. But if you're an MDK fan, you're definitely rooting for SK Gaming here.
And the crazy twist of fate. Here we are. 2024 just continues to deliver. All right, Maokai as Real taken out as well. So some individual respect paid to Carzzy, as well as Ivern just feeling like a pretty general power pick more often than not when teams can get it, just given the sheer quantity of AD mid laners. It's a champion that just slots in quite easily. So Skarner banned away, Rumble. Are they going to take it away from Photon? Are they willing to play something into it? Feels like you have to ban it. Best Rumble in our league. Are they willing to give it up in exchange for another potential power pick? Obviously, Tristana still on the board as well.
Yeah, Tristana is one that I'm keeping my eye on by as well. Going to have snuck our way through the ban phase, which is probably why they're sitting here thinking what are we supposed to do, because both Rumble and Vi very, very contentious picks. Even the Varus open available too. So it's going to be the Rumble ban. I imagine it'll be the Vi picked up here, but maybe not actually.
Sejuani has been the other champion, rising in prio. Again, lots of situations where Sejuani is solo killing champions with no damage items. She wouldn't build damage items, but still an impressive amount of base damage. You can see why it'd be prioritized.
It does mean you can go for someone like Vitalia here, though, and set yourself up very nicely for SK Gaming. Nisqy, second, or one of his most played, has been that. Talia, but actually not going to be the case. Looking at the Xin Zhao instead, so Vi looks like she's going to sneak her way through the draft, unless Vitality are thinking of swapping that Sejuani to top side, but I'd be surprised if they did.
Can leverage the flex, don't really feel any pressure to do so yet. Xin, of course, not a flex pick unless we're going real deep into the solo queue strategies, and instead we're going to get the Kai'Sa, which, you know, mostly expecting that to go into the hands of Rahel. Very likely it'll go. We haven't seen Nisqy play the mid lane Kai'Sa yet this season, but it is a popular pick. And Team Vitality immediately going to fire back Renata Kalista. Very aggressive, very powerful 2v2 bot lane.
I think now the question is if Luon has taken a page out of Mickey's book and wants to play a Poppy, because this type of composition against the Kalista, against the Sejuani, Poppy gets a ton of value, or whether Relevant feels comfortable to just blind pick that on the top side. But for the moment, they're going to take the Leona and just try and play hyper aggressive in that bottom lane.
Yeah, definitely a strong duo. A lot of burst damage. The range of the Solar Flare, making it a little bit easier to stop any potential handshakes from coming through. But Hylissang, if he's clean enough on the Renata, can really stop the early playmaking. Kalista, champion that's fallen off in terms of prio a lot for us domestically. So want to see what Carzzy and Hylissang look like on it. Now going to see the Yone banned away as well as the Gnar. And again, the Gnar ban, not surprising. If you missed SK's game yesterday, it was the irrelevant show. We had him on the desk. He broke down the play. He's like, this, you know, where he gets a triple kill. He's like, actually, it was a pretty mediocre play. But if you're in the right place at the right time and you're a good Gnar player, you can make the difference. And Irrelevant certainly is that good Gnar player.
Yeah, LeBlanc could be taken away as well. So it definitely feels like they're going to be looking at something like the Talia for Nisqy here in this next rotation. And could also look for a Corki as well, which might slip through the draft. A lot of big power picks, honestly, that have kind of made their way through the draft. But we'll have to see what their game plan is. As I imagine another top lane ban, maybe something like the Twisted Fate could be coming through here. But no, it is going to be the Talia ban instead.
Respect paid over to the Roam potential of that champion. And obviously, as you mentioned, Nisqy's played 2 games on it already this season. Him having that mobility would be a problem. Also, when you get enough, you know, pieces together that have this kind of either global or semi-global mobility in team fights, it's just incredibly frustrating to deal with. SK debating if they want to go for a bit more scaling in the mid lane. The answer is yes. Again, another champion that Nisqy's played twice this season, and overall looked incredible the last time we saw him on it. Definitely some late game scaling insurance, and in the early to mid game can still be that big playmaker. I
still think you have options to go for something like the Tristana here if you want to for Vetheo. Even if you want to look at the Corki, I think you still have a relatively good matchup there. And you can look for a Photon to provide some of that AP damage, even if you want to take something like a Zac into that top side, be that secondary engage tool, and offers a lot of backline threat. But we'll have to see what the game plan here is.
It's interesting, because Sante going to be the choice. Tristana still wouldn't feel too bad. Again, you're lacking magic damage thus far, but there's no tank on the side of SK Gaming. We can expect them to lock in one R5. But we've seen if you can get ahead early, which is what Team Vitality's comp is designed to do, oftentimes the enemy team doesn't have time to stack up that armor. It does require you to play very well and to end very quickly, however.
Oh, okay. So going back to what we got a lot at MSI, which was the Aurelion Sol into Azir, you get a lot of time to stack up. But on the opposite side for SK, I wouldn't be surprised to see Relevant go back towards the Renekton. Great matchup into K'Sante and kind of feeds off that idea that you were putting forward for SK, which is we want to try and pressure a lot of this early game before we get the K'Sante and this Aurelion Sol starting to come through. We did see Photon try this. I don't know if it's a shout out to Photon, like way back when he tried to do the Iceborne Gauntlet Spear of Shojin top. But
it was one that every top laner defended. Like, no, this pick is actually good. He was doing well. It was other reasons. There were other things that came through. Instead, Camille going to be the lock-in, laying down the gauntlet here. So again, two champions who, the later we go, are going to get more powerful. That is the Azir and the Camille. But, of course, the Azir scaling balanced out by the Aurelion Sol on the opposite side. Two very explosive drafts.
But it is one for SK that is pretty dive heavy into a Renata, into the Aurelion Sol. Like, you have options to try and play around that to a certain extent and keep yourself safe. So SK, I think, will be playing more towards, hey, take it very slow, let Irrelevant build up that lead in the side lane, and just try and use him as our big win con versus trying to enter into these massive team fights. Especially if you can try and get Isma down to that bottom side, punish Hilly in the early stages alongside Carzzy, and just get Rahel and Luon to a position where they can just manage their own in the mid-wave, or mid-game on that mid-wave.
Options are there. Pressure really on Vitality again. It was scattered yesterday, something we wanted to see more from them, and it wasn't there in their first day performance. We'll have to hope that day two that this draft is more along the lines of what they were looking for, what they were waiting for. Certainly very reliant on Vetheo and Carzzy in terms of overall damage. Photon perhaps could upset the apple cart, could do something on the top side of the map, but Irrelevant has been rock solid for this SK lineup, so it's a tough avenue of attack.
It's also something that's a little bit different for SK this split. Like last couple of splits, we've seen them move towards Irrelevant a lot to give him those resources. Yesterday, didn't quite work out in the bot lane, so they turned towards Irrelevant again. And it feels like they're nearly saying, hey, wait, we can actually do this again. Let's put those resources into Irrelevant and Camille and see what he can do.
Fandom here. Vitality fans here to support. They're so close, and yet also so far. Tension at the bottom of the table. Vitality, can they make the upset against SK happen? The question on our minds as we get into our first game of the day. Again, these first two games so incredibly important. SK fighting to be #1 for the first time since 2015 spring. Vitality on the opposite side, fighting just to make it into playoffs. A team that we looked at as clear contender for top of the table at the start of the season based on roster, based on what we saw from them in spring, has fallen so far down. But again, it really is just about how you finish here. Easy to forget this regular season if they can move on and show a good playoffs and performance, but have to qualify first.
But they needed to have a strong performance coming in yesterday, and the bot lane fell apart. So Vitality, this is your last chance. This is where you have to play for all the marbles, and you have to set yourself up well and not fall behind in these early stages. It's the moment, trying to see if they can set up vision on this top side, spot out what Isma's plan is going to be. But SK have actually set themselves up very nicely here, even potentially looking a bit of a lane swap with the way they're set up, but Irrelevant's still on this top side too.
Vetheo, just fishing, obviously only needs the blink of an eye to proc Comet there, so very easy to just get a tiny bit of harass. Doesn't quite get it off though, so the soldier from Nisqy, it does get the initial poke down. So
I think they are actually going to go for a lane swap. Irrelevant basically showing here to say, hey, we're not doing anything funky, but you can see it's minute 30 and SK are still on this top side, so Irrelevant probably going to just try and annoy the Sejuani with Luon, maybe even, I mean, if you have the Leona there, you might be able to try and set up for some sort of...
They can just walk up. Lyncas absolutely does not win this level 1. The rest of the team now moving in. Photon already flashing away. Lyncas forced to walk away, forced to retreat, but he's so far behind now on the initial jungle clear. And again, you talked about this looking and feeling like an MSI draft. Well, it's an MSI strategy as well. Lane swap to get away from the early power of something like the Renata Kalista. Thus far paying off for SK.
Yeah, it's actually going to be Luon, though, who's left without a job. So they're sending Irrelevant to top to actually farm with the Kalista, so he gets, the Kai'Sa, so he gets some of the levels. And it's Luon who's going to be left jobless for a little bit, although he tries to get on here to Vetheo.
Only level 1 Photon. An incredibly awkward skirmish. Rare that we see outside of a lane swap so many level 1 and level 2 champions fighting so aggressively, but it's just the nature of the swap.
I do kind of like this from SK though, because if you end up swapping back now, Irrelevant is just ticked over to level 2 because he's the one that's taking the CS over Luon. So it's not going to be the end of the world. You're still getting your push. So if you rotate back at level 3, Photon is only now starting to farm some CS and get some experience, but the entire wave is gone. So you'll have a really big experience advantage for Irrelevant. And sure, Luon will be a little bit behind, but as a support, that's really not the end of the world.
So often, of course, there were adjustments made to tower plating early on, which is why SK are doing absolutely nothing. Might get a single plate here. It's going to take a little bit more time. Vitality already going to be most likely at 2 by the time SK are partway into the first. So that's the disadvantage. The good news is, of course, as you highlighted, experience so far in favor of Irrelevant. And when you look at top laners in a swap, it is all about XP. No one's getting any money. Except for Photon, 42 gold, nice. So it's all about how much XP you can get, because when you do return to that lane phase, if you're a level 1 K'Sante against a level 2 or a level 3 Camille, it is very unplayable.
Yeah, we're now getting the TP back, Photon into that top side, but Irrelevant still has his and has the little bit of that XP advantage. Carzzy and Hilly going to get another plate though. It's a little bit dark because it is going to open up a bit of a gold lead for themselves in that bottom side. So it's going to be a case of Vitality can try and play through this bot side to punish Rahel and Luon, or if Irrelevant can try and use the advantages and the resource he has now to power SK through to a win.
Yeah. Right now it's not too big of an advantage. And at this stage, Carzzy resetting. They do get away from the Kalista first few levels, but Luon's still only level 1 as well. We'll be able to catch that wave on the bottom side, so we'll see how XP evens out. And Carzzy and Hylissang going to be at about the same point. SK probably going to pull ahead a little bit here. And this obviously, whatever standard laning phase you are hoping for, even as we reset to normal lanes, this just throws a little bit, or everything a little bit off, right? Waves aren't in the spot that you would expect them to be. Junglers don't quite have the same pathing, so adaptability really going to be the name of the game here for Vitality, the team who did not initiate the swap.
Lyncas going to spot out Irrelevant. More here to Shadow, because Photon is pushing in this top side. It's a pretty sizable wave. They even brought Hylissang up here, so definitely expecting SK to try and play off of Irrelevant in this top side of the map. I don't know if he got spotted there just in the corner, but there's no ping, so I don't think so. But Irrelevant definitely pinging that the jungler is probably on top side. Will spot the Sejuani there, so I'm going to try and play it safe on this top end.
Q3 ready to go. Hylissang still waiting. Doesn't hit Irrelevant. Should be fine here. Hylissang just hoping to find an angle, anticipating the trade, bit of a knockback. Irrelevant ignited now, they're zoning him off the tower. Aggressive look from the side of Vitality. They get the flash out from Camille, now they're going to force the TP back from Irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you have the TP is a lifesaver there for Irrelevant. Like, it is nice to get the flash out, makes it a little bit less egregious to try and go for some plays up top side if you're SK, or even Vitality, because you might be able to play for it, but the fact that you can't get onto the K'Sante with the Camille flash will make things a little bit simpler for the K'Sante to farm up. But having the TP to get back means you're going to be able to pick up the wave, no problem.
Overall, though, 5 minutes in, we're back now to essentially normal lanes. Hylissang going to be a little behind in XP. It's just been a bit of time. He did catch CS, or excuse me, XP on the top side, so it should balance out. And overall, despite having a much stronger 2v2 lane, Vitality are essentially dead even in gold on the bottom side of the map. 90 lead, really not that much. Once this gets a gank off here, it'll feel very different, but otherwise, it feels like SK really got what they wanted out of this swap, which wasn't plates, it was making sure Rahel and Luon could survive. Yeah,
and also getting that level advantage for Relevant. So it's just a case of how well they can continue this pressure. And Nisqy is doing a good job at the moment of trying to shadow everywhere. I don't think they've actually managed to spot out exactly what Isma's up to, but he knows he's probably topside, so he's going to look for a potential dive.
Dive could come in, Rahel already retreating. Luon the only one left under the tower, really not the ideal target. They should just be able to grab another plate here, Carzzy. Extra shield coming through. Grub's going to get picked up by SK. It's just locked up briefly by the Zenith Blade. Nisqy tries to roam down, but is spotted on vision, so Vitality keeping the pressure up means this gold lead is starting to grow for Carzzy.
Yeah, they really do need some help down here as SK. At least at the moment, you should be able to look at Lyncas' pathing and go, he should be moving back towards the top side, although Red Buff is going to spawn at a similar-ish time. So it looks like he's going to move back to this boss, because Isma is going to reset, move in to collect his own blue buff that's just spawned, and could maybe look for some sort of play on the bottom side. So I think Vitality bot lane, I was about to say looking for the reset, but level 6 has just been hit for Carzzy.
Level 6 for Carzzy. Hylissang, level 3. Look for the handshake. Cleanse already comes out a little bit ahead of schedule. Hylissang locked up for a brief moment. That means the play is going to fizzle, but SK, again, chunking out these health bars. If they bring their jungler in as well, it means the dive angle is so much easier, and at this point, Rahel and Luon really have to stick around, but already, SK smartly adapting. Got Isma on the way. They've got Nisqy on the way as well.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a mistake from Vitality. I think they could have just gone for the reset, spent that gold, but now Nisqy's here. Isma's shadowing. Lyncas in the same position though, so Luon taking a lot of damage.
He can chuck down. He might just die before the play even really starts. Shielding coming down from the Eclipse. The rest of SK now descending. Nisqy fishing for the angle. Flashback pushing Carzzy, catching his flash as well, and down goes the carry. A disaster in the bottom lane. Double thumbs up from SK as Vitality lose their ADC.
Shouldn't let them dragon as well. You can already see Xin Zhao starting to move over there, although I think Azir has to make it back in towards the mid lane, so may not be able to try and set up for that objective just yet, but still getting that early kill was the same yesterday was crucial to the success of G2, and Vitality have fumbled once again.
And this is not an easy game to play Kalista, right? You get locked in by that Camille in the later stages of the game. The Xin, so hard to deal damage against. Falling behind is incredibly rough. And you're right, ultimately fishing for the play got them a bit of damage, but losing their life in the trade as SK were just quicker on the collapse.
And you were never really going to be able to get a huge amount there. We already said, look, if Isma has just taken Void Grubs on top side, chances are he's going to be moving back down towards this bottom half of the map. And Lyncas knew it, but just wasn't in a position to really help out. And now SK coming back out onto the map, you've got that advantage at least evened out in the bottom lane. And you're also opening up a nearly 800 gold lead for Isma in that jungle as well. So he's in a great position if you ever match up in a 2v2 or a 3v3 anywhere on the map.
And Xin snowballing is terrifying, right? Having that level advantage, having early access to that ult means it's so much harder for Vitality to take any kind of skirmish. Lyncas just now hitting level 6 means he can try to start some plays of his own, but SK pulling ahead a bit here in the early game. And certainly when you look at that Camille on the top side, we know that there's this inevitability to irrelevant in this game. A bit of a timer on Vitality if their execution isn't perfect.
That was unfortunate for Luon. End up walking just that little bit out of the bush, but Isma's here.
Lightning, Carzzy locked up, handshake back into Rahel. They want to use the Kai'Sa ultimate. They just opt to back away in the play. It takes a lot of upfront damage. Lyncas is kind of debating. Does he start Drake? Does he walk bot lane? Ultimately starts the Drake, but it's going to proc the Sejuani passive. He'll be a bit squishier.
Luon is so close to level 6, though. I don't know if you want to try and take this as Vitality. He should hit 6 off this wave if Rahel can clear it out fast enough. And Isma ticking over to level 7. Vetheo having push in mid is helpful, as actually it's going to be Nisqy going top. Looks like the cross map's coming through for SK.
Wave reset, and now top versus bot side irrelevant. Essentially out of mana. Q3 not really going to hit, but it does manage to clip Nisqy. Irrelevant now going to be in trouble. Photon does a good amount of damage, but there's just too many members top side. Damage is good. Photon not nearly tanky enough. The Drake will drop, but at the cost of the top laner's life.
It looks like it might be able to get bot lane terror though for Vitality. The resets came through for Rahel and Luon. Maybe a little bit nervous of a potential dive coming through, but Vitality haven't copped it. They're actually going for the reset themselves, so don't want to try and take that bottom lane structure just yet. And you can see Rahel and Luon opening up in mid lane. Weren't really sure exactly how they wanted to try and go for it, but with Void Grub spawning, that seems to be where everyone is turning their attention.
Definitely. Already that first spawn. Isma obviously pretty far ahead in the jungle individually. Got that kill. Was able to grab all 3 of the grubs. Only now have Vitality been able to trade back and get that Drake. Here, SK crossover to the 6 grub threshold. Vitality are stronger in early skirmishes on paper, so they want to try and take this fight. Excellent ulti onto Rahel to kick things off. Rahel trapped in the back of the pit. Carzzy just going to continue to walk forward. Good ulti coming in from Vetheo. Landing onto 3, but that dragon is out of mana. He can fly through the air, though, and he might not need it. Luon starting to burn, starting to fall down. Vitality might not have gotten the grubs, but they got the fight.
Vitality got a huge... Oh, actually, might. A little bit of a nuisance there for Haley. Wasn't sure if he's going to be able to stop that teleport, but Vitality will get 2 grubs. They get a really good engage onto Rahel to start things off just before his cleanse was able to come back up. So the fight with that extra man and Photon being there went so well for them.
Definitely had to get it right. Giving up the 4 grub buff, very, very unfortunate, but good confidence in how strong their composition was. Good angle from Vetheo on the 3-man stun. Make sure things worked out for them. We take a look back at this exchange.
Yeah, I mean, Lyncas right between the 2 bodyguards manages to catch Rahel. Rahel then goes, okay, I've got to use this ultimate to try and get out of here, but Vetheo sets up with the ultimate perfectly to set down several members of SK, and especially the fact that you have Photon here, as Irrelevant was only trying to get into position, meant that everything went right for Vitality in that play.
And this is exactly the kind of thing they need to turn around a game that has been not super explosive, definitely not as much successful trading on the bottom side as they would have liked, given the early priority on the Kalista and the Renata. The good news is late game insurance scaling policy in the mid lane. Vetheo stacking pretty damn well. 115, 12 minutes into the game. And look, Aurelion Sol, still terrifying. We don't see him as much, but the stacks matter. They're going to start adding up eventually.
Dragons are scary.
Dragons, yeah, just generally. There's one thing that we've learned. Except for the ones, hilariously, that spawn in the pit. They really don't do anything.
Not even a little.
Just like this dragon, and like if you queue up in solo queue and Goldberg's on your team and he picks Sejuani. Those are the two times you have to be scared of a dragon.
Okay. But it depends.
No, if he's on the enemy team, you're like, yes,
yeah.
great. He's going to die 8 times and split push. But otherwise, no. Terrifying. Of course, the Skies Descend, the evolved Aurelion Sol or empowered Aurelion Sol ultimate is available for Vetheo. Next fight, Vitality should be much stronger. Completed item for Rahel does mean that he's going to clear the waves much faster, and that is going to make it difficult for Carzzy to contest mid lane.
And that's where it's going to open up Hylissang to make so many moves around the map. You can already see him kind of threatening, moving in towards that top side. Now moving bot, linking up with both Lyncas and Carzzy. They want to try and shut down Irrelevant. And it's a nice shift. Vetheo now moving in towards mid lane to cover that push that's going to be answered by Rahel and Luon. Irrelevant, I think, though, spots something he's going to miss. I'm going to get out of there.
Big thing I want to keep track of in this game. Oh, hold that. Again, slow onto Rahel. Immediate cleanse comes out, but there's just too much damage. Dragon just runs him down. Lightning from the skies. And again, well coordinated. It does mean it's going to cost a tower. Can they break mid lane in the meantime on the remaining members of Vitality? Because SK grabbing another one. Not going to quite. Actually might get the last plate here as well, and that's big. First tower, too, an additional 300 gold for SK. So in terms of net gold, they still went out on the trade.
I was also going to say, you don't really get mid-tower. And look at the timer for Dragon. Like, a lot of those ultimates going to be a little bit iffy as to whether they're back up on time. So SK may be able to then look towards a Dragon take just off the back of ult economy. But we'll have to see if they're going to be able to make that one work, as Relevant definitely putting the herd onto Photon down the spot side should give them control. But with Vitality a little bit behind the play, it looks like they're going to turn over towards Rift Tower rather than the Dragon.
Setting up a top side. Don't want to overcommit. Of course, Lyncas spotted on a bit of vision there. Not sure if he's aware, but furious pings coming out from Vitality, trying to coordinate play around the mid lane. They do not want to lose anything on this tower. They know Rahel is out of summoner spells. Handshake coming in delayed, though the lockup on the Hylissang is clutch. The bailout might not be enough for Rahel. So many spears stacking up, and he will finally get taken down. Hostile takeover. Luon running. Isma running, and once again, here comes Vetheo. Here comes Photon. Split pushing continues to be the answer for SK, but this time, it's a triple kill for Vitality.
Vitality would give up the bot tower to make the play happen, and it works out beautifully. They manage to get 3 kills. They'll get the Dragon, and should be able to get a good amount of control over the mid lane as well. SK, they need to make sure that Irrelevant wins this game for them, because he's the one that they've invested all these resources in.
Definitely. Vetheo also only continuing to stack as these fights happen, getting so much. But now Nisqy trying to solo take the objective here. The rest of his team moving in. I don't believe he has been spotted. Looks like he came over the wall. No pings onto Herald. Nisqy focused on it just now, seeing on the way pings from Vitality. But they're a little bit behind the play. He needs to finish this. Wind becomes lightning. Isma can go over the wall. Should smite it and take it away. Oh, it was dangerously close to Nisqy. Just leashing it for Vitality, but the fast play does work out in his favor.
Nicely done by SK, just cheating in there to get that takeaway, because Vitality were definitely fishing for it. They'd already started to move so many members in towards the mid lane, but we're going to get the replay coming through here. And again, just good coordination. Send in Hylissang. He gets right up personal with Rahel to get the initial CC, and then Photon TPing in. Vitality were like, look, we don't care about bot tower, we're going to lose that anyway. We need to try and make plays mid, get the AD carry in the mid lane are fed if we want to try and take this game.
Happiness on the face of Carzzy. Obviously pressure's on, but still optimism. And you can understand why. 5-1 in this game. Not the bloody start that he might have been hoping for, but a bloody mid-game. 1.5 items now. Rahel very much behind. 1.9k gold lead for that Kalista. Decent tools as SK get later. Again, you mentioned Irrelevant to shut down Carzzy. But it's not going to get easy for quite some time, Rob. 2 items. Obviously, we expect Irrelevant to win inside. Level 13 going to be important as well. But Carzzy still someone that has to be respected in these skirmishes. I think SK have been a little bit too eager to trade kills for objectives.
Yeah, I think at this point you're like, okay, Irrelevant's nearly hitting a point where he just becomes relevant, which is having those 2 items. But having the Rift Tower in your back pocket as well means you can try and take mid-tower. The biggest issue is one that you already talked about is, oh, hang on.
Handshake there, immediate ulti to follow. Lyncas getting lower, but Irrelevant already now in the pit. Is going to use his ulti. Luon coming in, Rahel waiting over the wall. Ulti going down for Vetheo, going to find two members locked up. Nisqy trying to find the angle to push them back in. Flashback does not connect on the Dragon though. Lyncas immediately retreating, 2 quick kills. The bot lane from Vitality deleted right when we're singing their praises.
And this time around, it's SK saying, hey, look, we have the teleport advantage. So they move Irrelevant up into that top side to match the play from Vitality. Now they get the mid lane, and Photon has to walk his way from that bottom lane all the way to mid. But I think the play may have already fizzled, although Rahel, yeah, there they go. We'll need to get the tower.
Tower falling. And again, for so many of these plays, Vitality have just had the man advantage. SK haven't been in a position to punish, but this time around, Irrelevant and Nisqy were there. So it wasn't nearly as one-sided, but the side lane pressure still continues. And that is, you know, really the worst possible scenario. Any other member of the team could have died, but you lose that shutdown from Carzzy. You lose so much when the bot lane dies here.
Yeah, and you can see they've already moved Irrelevant in position to try and cover for this play, and it's Nisqy who ends up teleporting into this fight, so they create the numbers advantage on this play, catching out Vitality as they're looking set up. Nisqy even getting the flash there out of Vetheo. Really good stuff from SK to fight back against Vitality.
Definitely is. And now the Kalista feels a lot less scary, right? Still a champion that can do work in extended fights, but against a Xin, against a Camille, and now the 2-item Kai'Sa, just not nearly as threatening. However, Vetheo continues to stack, 193, 18 minutes in. See him now moving down to bot lane. Build towards that ultimate can always really disrupt any of the team fights that SK decide to go for, but it's 1 minute and 18 seconds until Drake. Baron will be on the table, and there's an Azir and a Kai'Sa on the side of SK. So this is something Vitality have to respect, because there's probably no better mid lane AD carry duo in the game for shredding objectives than these two here.
It's also, you got to be so careful when you enter in towards fight as Vitality, because if you have Irrelevant coming in from a flank angle, he's so good at, you know, jumping onto Carzzy, jumping onto Vetheo, but also opening up for Rahel to ult in onto the back line, dodge away from some of the Hylissang ult, and set up for a quick pick. So this is definitely where you might be setting up vision for
Stack. Stun onto Isma. We'll try to get the ultimate off. So far the CC layer beautifully. Isma immediately going to heal up a little bit more, courtesy of the Sundered Sky, but should just get dropped down here. Jungler deleted, and now Vitality want to keep going. Luon running for his life. Rahel lays down a bit more poke. Powered Blast Cone, the Chemtech Blast Cone can't take Luon out. He takes his time to make sure the angle is good. Hostile takeover goes completely wide, but Vitality have the setup on Drake.
SK were skipping steps. They didn't get mid-push into linking to go into this bottom side to set up vision for Dragon. Instead, they tried to skip it, and Vitality punish incredibly well, and now that's going to be not only the Dragon, but the mid-tower gone as well. You can still see Irrelevant pushing in that top side, trying to answer for something, but you know, errors coming through on the SK side.
For SK now, just trying to recoup what they can, but Lyncas continues to fish for these picks, look for these angles. And I will say this Sejuani, being able to just walk up and start these fights without having to worry about any kind of recourse from SK, at least immediately, while they don't have all their damage members in position, has been good. SK, though, still starting the objective, denying soul point. Lyncas here. They have vision. Is he willing to flip it here? No, the answer, not going to fully commit. So really, SK get away with an objective, despite you know, really losing out on the fight.
I think Vitality were just more worried about losing that tier 2 and top side. Irrelevant to put a ton of pressure there. You saw Photon move up, and they were worried if we try and TP Photon in, do we end up just losing another tier 2 for a single Chemtech Dragon going over to SK? So they decided to instead give it up, so then they can make sure they can cover any sort of push from Irrelevant top side.
Irrelevant though, shadowing the bottom lane. Enough stacks now for Vetheo to get his second stack of the Sky's Descent, the empowered ultimate. Quick thumbs up, because there's not another member. Irrelevant finds out he's isolated in the 1v1. He goes straight in onto Vetheo. He should most certainly win that. But now, turns have tabled. Irrelevant needs to find a way out. Will be easy. Camille again, that hook shot. Pretty impossible skill to interrupt an abundance of cooldowns.
You've no TP on Vetheo
Now
though.
Nisqy's getting caught out. Every single side lane really committed to over-pushing here on the side of SK, but now perhaps it's Carzzy who has been caught out. Luon waiting over the wall. Nice lock up on the solar flare, and Irrelevant turns it right back. The TP from Nisqy, ensuring that that play just fizzled from Vitality.
Yeah, Nisqy sure, went aggressive, but it was the good call, right? Because Irrelevant has the TP in bot side. I was just saying Vetheo doesn't. So always that's going to be a numbers advantage for SK in the top side of the map. So Nisqy ends up baiting in Vitality, and Irrelevant wants more.
Keeps going. More poke onto Hylissang. Dies before he can even use the bailout. Yeah, excuse me, Irrelevant's TP in the previous play. And as mentioned previously, keep your eyes on this Kai'Sa and Azir because they're going to obliterate this objective. Vitality now desperate to get something back. Vetheo ultimate is powerful, and Irrelevant's taking a decent amount of damage, but SK can't just turn off the objective and start the fight. Big chunk of the damage initially, and that's the empowered ultimate from Vetheo coming in. Nisqy going to flash backwards. Rahel now stepping up a bit more damage. Photon looking to isolate the AD carry, but Rahel just flashes over the wall. Eyes on the prize. He deletes the dragon, but it's Photon now trying to turn it back. Not strong enough to kill Irrelevant. Isma on the edge, but will get taken out in the end. Photon, the hero play to stop the Baron from going down.
Just about. Isma got the knockback with the ultimate because he hadn't challenged Photon, but it just wasn't quite enough to keep the distance. Irrelevant will get the kill, but it's a big win for SK. They may not have got the Baron, but that's a lot of gold in their back pockets.
Yeah, the gold lead just continues to grow, and again, 1.9k. If we look back 10 minutes ago on Carzzy, now only 500 gold advantage, and it's 1.2k, 1.5, almost 1,000 for Irrelevant. The entire top side for SK is just so damn far ahead.
And that's the thing, the ticking time bomb of 3 items for Camille is very quickly coming, but you see here, Nisqy's like, cool, I can take this route because at any point in time, Irrelevant can show up. You don't have that luxury for Vetheo, so essentially this turns into a 4 versus 5 on the top side where Carzzy gets punished for trying to go aggressive onto Nisqy. And then SK just waiting in the wings again for people to show up. Irrelevant leads the charge. Rahel never ends up following because he has the ultimate and can, but just waits here until they turn onto Vetheo, and great engage from Luon. So Irrelevant marks Lyncas on the top side so he can't get into the pit. You then have the ultimate from Rahel to follow onto Vetheo, then flashing forward. Photon does a good job of shutting him down. You can see here the ultimate from Isma was nearly enough. I think honestly he could have kept walking away as Isma and survived, but either way, they managed to take down Photon, but now Vitality want Nisqy.
It feels a little bit like desperation for Vitality. Full committing to the top side there. Do they just want to try and force the objective again? They use the empowered ultimate from Vetheo. They're getting further and further behind in terms of gold. They don't have Sol to fall back on because SK got the previous Drake. Now looking to lock up Irrelevant and pick him layer the CC perfectly, but no, the Hextech ultimatum comes in. Pullback coming in from Photon as well. They take down the top laner. Punish SK. Irrelevant thought he was too tanky. He was not, and now Vitality starts the objective. If they secure this, everything swings back in their favor. It's all in the smite. It's all in the execution. SK, are they willing to take the fight at a man disadvantage? Photon zoning, trying to keep the jungler out of the pit. They want to delete Isma once again. That ultimate doing nothing. Vitality focused on the objective. Clean calls here in the moment. Nisqy waiting over the wall. Wants to bring it back. Vitality stopped there. Baron, can SK do the same? Nisqy off to the side. Unstoppable now. The interrupt coming in from Photon. Pushback is good. Ulti not going to connect on anybody, but Nisqy's already dead. Vitality can just continue to hit the objective. Vitality should just take the Baron here, but it's taking a damn long time. 4 seconds on Irrelevant. He does have the TP up and available. SK, how crazy are they? Just continue to channel. Objective down. Vitality like that. Swing the gold back in their favor, but it's already Irrelevant. The side lane pushing. Looking to get some gold of his own.
Yeah, the TP onto the minion is crucial there. Should stop that wave from being able to crash onto the tower, but Vitality, just when they look like they were about to choke it out, they were running out of breath. They find a lifeline. That Baron is going to be huge, and especially now with Dragon in just a couple of moments, she'll be able to reset and get back out of the map to contest this. You can see Lyncas already leading that charge, stepping forward.
And again, they try to make a fast play on top side. They have so many members overloading in the top lane. It doesn't look like their SK is going to fall into the trap, but Irrelevant. That's just a little bit too far forward without the information he needed, and that's all it took for Vitality to swing things back in their favor. Now the push. How much can they get out of this Baron? Will it just buy time? Will it just buy space? Or can they actually build a more meaningful lead here?
The opposite side, threatening with that ult. He doesn't even have the ultimate actually, so just trying to see if you can keep that vision control on this bottom, but SK holding on. They're happy to give across this third dragon, it looks like. They just don't really feel like they have any pressure on the map, but as long as Vitality have this Baron, SK really can't threaten too much with Irrelevant, but they are going to threaten with Nisqy, who is eyeing up that tier 2 on the bottom side. So honestly, trade for that mid tower, not the end of the world, and he can keep going for the inhibitor. He has the 4 Void Grubs.
As for Void Grubs, can keep pushing as you highlighted, but will probably lose the inhibitor here. Vitality should just step up and take this. Don't want to overcommit. You can see recalls coming in for Vetheo now to make sure that he can defend the inhibitor. No TP for Nisqy. No empowered recall means if Vitality get aggressive here, the Azir will not be involved. Ultimately, SK, though, going to respect it, will pull back. Vetheo has to find the angle in the 1v1 to stop Nisqy from taking it, so I just don't think that he can. Tower goes down, Luon stepping forward, Irrelevant still off to the backside. The entire fight split. Isma trying to find the angle, trying to buy a bit more space to continue the pressure from Nisqy, but it's going to cost him his life. Isma should just die again here. SK delaying, SK stalling, SK buying time, but they give up 2 just to stop the push from going any further. And in the meantime, Photon is still stepping forward, is still pushing. Vetheo can TP into this lane. Vitality might just try to go for the throw here. Nisqy's going to be on the way. The recall finally going to come through, with the TP coming through even faster from Vetheo. They've already locked up Irrelevant. Hextech ultimatum, not going to buy him any more space. Photon the one to step up again in the clutch. This K'Sante has been everything for Vitality. Nisqy going to whip completely. Vitality, can they afford to go for the end here? 2 inhibitors has to be enough. Blinking health bars, but if any team is going to keep pushing, it's Vitality. Rahel wants to make the difference himself, wants to turn it back again. Health bars blinking, but Rahel takes the kill on the Carzzy.
They barely hold on, but it's a series of blunders from SK. They overextend in the fight, end up losing members. Nisqy does not do that last auto attack on that topside inhibitor to take the inhibitor so it doesn't go down, and now their base is in complete shambles with the dragon going across.
That's a flashback to spring, isn't it? SK, you can see the angle for the play. They take the inhibitor, they get an early reset, they stall a bit of time so Nisqy can get there. Instead, they give up 2, they don't get an inhibitor, and they lose 2 of theirs in exchange. A terrible, terrible trade deal. Vitality, a 2k gold lead wouldn't have been the end of the world, but now it's 2k gold lead, Sol point 2 inhibitors down. The runway is clear for Baron.
And at least if they got that inhibitor, it's like, cool, we've got auto pushing wave on top. It eases up a little bit. We can play a little bit more aggressive on defending that final inhibitor, even playing up around this Baron that's about to spawn in 2.5 minutes time. But not getting that inhibitor was crucial. That was the linchpin of that entire trade.
Yeah, that was awful. In the end, that was truly terrible for SK. You can see the logic. But the tiny mistakes that we saw left and right ultimately is making it such a bad deal for them. Vetheo still a couple stacks away to the next charge on the Empowered Ultimate. We'll see if he can get it before Baron spawns. 2 minutes, should have the time. Vitality want to continue sieging. They still have to respect the flank from Irrelevant. But Irrelevant forced more and more to pay attention to Photon, someone who was falling behind in the 1v1 for a lot of the mid game here, but so many kills have gone into his pocket. He's now got a lead. Isma potentially in trouble. Empowered Ultimate there for Vetheo. Vitality, again, if they can play this slow, calm, they have control of the Baron, they have pressure in their favor, they don't need to force anything.
SK are just struggling to hold on to these. Vitality basically hopping back and forth between the ways the Photon's pushing in mid to threaten that push, and also threaten linking with Photon and also keeping pressure on this top side. At least their wave clear is pretty decent, so they're able to hold on.
And Rob, this is where I get nervous because we had Mac and Pat on Euphoria this week, and the thing they said is they never want to play slow League of Legends. They always want to push for more. They always want to, you know, go for blood. They don't want to just sit and scale and stall and wait. But again, as long as Vitality don't make a mistake here, doesn't matter. Ulti's chained beautifully. Nisqy starting to auto-attack his entire team. Have they ever pushed though? The pushback. Nisqy now able to make it out. Pull back from Photon is good. Isma now going to be in trouble with Irrelevant. Now following up. Overextension briefly from the side of Vitality. They get nobody in the exchange. 48 seconds on Baron. SK are closer to their base. Resets are going to be crucial here. Timing going to be crucial. Supers giving the space Vitality need to reset and reapproach that Baron.
Very low health bars on SK, but they managed to step away. Isma nearly going down, but if you actually look at the grand scheme of things, Nisqy still has his flash available, Rahel still has the ult available. Nisqy's ult's going to be up soon. Like the main targets on SK still have the tools that they need to try and play with these fights.
That's Veteo's Empowered all gone. Yeah. And again, I like the mentality that Mac and Pat are preaching, but sometimes just like, you don't need to make the play. You could just wait for Baron. It's so hard for them to approach if you just push out bot waves. Respect for the attempt, but SK, Summoner spells coming up from Rahel. They're not too far off on his flash. Cleanse is there and available. Hylissang, luckily, still going to have his ult by the time the fight breaks out.
SK still have to play into the dark, though. They need to try and find a way, push out mid, group on, clear out the vision that Vitality have already set up here, but the second Carzzy and Hylissang start to push in this wave, that top side goes dark again, and they just do not know where Vitality are. Nisqy will be able to push out a little bit on bot side, but he needs somewhere close to TP to, and right now SK just don't know what's happening.
Scryer's Bloom, though, crucially, right there in the jungle, gives them a little bit more vision. Focusing down now on the objective. Earlier play aggressive, they got a couple cooldowns. Vitality don't want to overcommit, though. Happy to to just test SK, hoping to bait the TP out of Nisqy, it looks like.
Yeah, because then they can start to open up on bot side with having that TP advantage themselves, but they've committed to this now.
Recall, hostile takeover over the wall. Isma, he can't get over. The Berserk coming through. They need to finish this one. Photon flashes over. He gets him out of the pit, and down goes the objective, but now it's Irrelevant on the backside. Instantly interrupted, instantly knocked up, instantly pushed back, but Irrelevant still stays standing. Carzzy deleted, and in the clutch, in the fight, it is all on Photon. Cassante one more time, one more copy pasta, but today the words are not in his favor. Not unstoppable enough. SK take the exchange.
Nisqy had to make amends after leaving that top inhibitor bare, but manages to make a huge play in the river. Photon took out Isma, but left his team for dust, and Nisqy saw his opportunity. Rahel diving into the backline, and what looked like Vitality finding the win they needed. Now maybe SK taking their spot.
For the first time since 2015, SK, so many different names, different faces, different iterations over the years. But they will lock first in the LEC regular season. Lyncas, the rest of the team, powerless to stop them. SK, the best team in the LEC regular season.
Not bad for a C-tier team, has to be said. SK, it was dodgy, it was ropey, it looked bewildering at times. But SK, a well-deserved first place. This team has continued to impress over the course of spring. Impeccable team fights has really been their standout. And thanks to that, they are standing top of the table.
Decided Vitality, Destiny no longer quite in their hands. For SK, obviously, should be smiles all around. A well-played regular season. Your Kia player of the game at LEC on X, Irrelevant, Nisqy, or Rahel. Look, honestly, that last team fight, excellently executed.
Yeah.
I hope we get to watch it one more time at some point in the show. But for now, the Munich LEC Finals pre-sale for the Ticket First pre-registrations is open. If you haven't signed up and haven't secured your tickets just yet, please check your email and access the pre-sale site. In the meantime, we're going to head to a quick break. When we return, more League of Legends coming your way.
Red Bull gives you wings.